All right, so here we are back for episode 2. This tutorial is going to be over. What we're going to do with this tutorial is we're going to load up the creation kit. We're going to pick a weapon to edit. We're going to edit it and make sure it works. And it works in game. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a new weapon from an existing weapon so that you can create your own specialized weapon with its specialized stats, just as a learning experience so that you can hopefully move into maybe more complicated stuff to create your own mods. So first what we're going to do is we're going to open up the creation kit and we're going to load the file from the first tutorial. So we're going to go up here to the open and we're going to scroll down to testmod.esp. We're going to activate that and we're going to let it load. So you'll see that the same errors that we see every time come up. I like to leave them on because as I'm editing, sometimes I do mess up and need to see what I've changed or what's causing a problem. All right, now that the creation kit is loaded up, we're going to pick a weapon and we're going to change its stats or alter it for our mod. So what we're going to do is you can see that you have these object windows, and the object windows can be used to narrow down your search of available assets from Skyrim so that you can figure out what you want to change. So the weapon we're going to use today is going to be the Daedric bow, just as a starting point. So once you've used the creation kit more, you'll realize that it has kind of a flow to how things are separated. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out at typing in Daedric. You'll see that nothing comes up, but that's because it already has a pre-selected, as you can see on the side here, it has pre-selected categories. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and click all, so we can see all categories listed with the Daedric name. So it should pop up everything, and you can see that there is quite a bit of Daedric stuff in the game. So what we're going to do is I think we can go Daedric and we'll type bow with no space, and it should come up with right there. There's the Daedric bow. So what we're going to do is you can double click on it and it brings up all the different options and sets for the Daedric bow. These are the sound sets down here, and we can go over to game data and you can see all the stats for the Daedric bow. So I'm just going to show you how to edit, how to get the mod into Skyrim, and show you what it does. First, we'll go into Skyrim so we can look at the base stats of the bow. All I'm going to do here is change the damage of the bow. So we'll go into, we'll load up Skyrim. Okay, so we've loaded up Skyrim, and I'm going to go into my inventory, and we'll go over to weapons, and you can see that I've added a Daedric bow to my inventory just for this tutorial. So you can see down here that the damage is 44, because that's based off of my skill with the bow. It's not, if you look at the creation kit, the standard bow damage was 19. That's assuming that your marksmanship skill is at its base. And so then that would mean your damage is 19. But for this, my marksman skill is above it, so it's 44. So we'll use that as a point of reference. So now that we've seen the stats of the bow, we'll go back into the creation kit and we'll change the damage. So we're back at the creation kit. You can see the damage here is 19. So let's change it to just something high so that we can tell that we're making a difference. So let's change it to like 100. Okay, so now when you edit any of these different things here, if you double click on them and they bring up this menu and you hit OK, the creation kit will check it as it has been modified. If it has been modified, then it will load the data that you've changed. So just be careful. So if you want to actually look at the Daedric bow, its stats, but not flag it as modified, then be sure to hit cancel to not modify it. Then the creation kit knows that all you're doing is looking at it. But if you do hit OK, it will count it as modified. We are modifying it, so that's okay. So we're going to hit OK. And if we open it up again, you can see that it says the damage is 100. So we'll hit OK again. And you can go up here and we'll save this modified Daedric bow. So now that it's saved, we have to load it into our load order. All right, so now that's done, now we will go and we'll load up the Skyrim launcher and select our modded file. So you can see that it brings up your standard gameplay launcher. We'll go into data files and we'll scroll to the bottom. Okay, so we won't scroll to the bottom. You can see that the test mod here is checked. You have to be sure to check your mod for it to load with the game. So just make sure that it's checked. If you don't want to use the mod, be sure to uncheck it. So we'll hit OK, and we'll go ahead and we'll play Skyrim. Okay, so we've loaded up Skyrim. We have our test mod enabled, and we're going to see if it changed. So the damage, if you remember from before, was 44, and we switched it from, in the creation kit, we switched it from 19 to 100. So if we go back into our inventory and we highlight the Daedric Bow, you can see that our damage is now 233. So we've successfully modded the damage for our Daedric Bow. The next thing what we're going to go over is creating a bow or a new weapon from scratch. Maybe not the actual look of the weapon, but a new weapon that can be separate from everything else. So what we'll do is we'll bring the creation kit back up and we'll go and we'll double click on this Daedric Bow. Now, I want to create a new weapon from scratch. I want to name it what I want to name it, and I want it to be separate from the original Daedric Bow. So what we'll do is we'll go up here and you'll have an ID. Now, we can come up with any ID, but what we'll do is we'll go Daedric Bow and we'll say test mod. Okay? That's what we'll name it. So the name in game, you can come up with anything that you want it to be. We'll name it Daedric Bow of Awesome. That way you know exactly what you're looking for. We'll change the value because it's so awesome. We'll add like 2 more zeros on there. See if that works, because it's so cool. And we already upped the damage already from the original Daedric Bow. But let's see here. It's weight. It's so awesome. Let's make it 1 weight. And we'll leave those all in. And then the crit damage, of course, has to be 100. And the damage has to be at least 200 starting. No problem, right? And we'll just leave it at that. That's fine. So we've created our Daedric Bow of Awesome. So this time, unlike the last time, when you clicked OK, it just accepted it and altered the Daedric Bow. This time it's going to ask you a new question. So we'll hit OK. And it says that do you want to create a new object? The old ID, Daedric Bow, new ID, Daedric Bow test mod, you have changed the ID. Basically, if you can see here, every asset in the Skyrim ESM has a form ID. Now what we're doing is, since we've modified the ID to a new ID that doesn't exist within Skyrim, it wants to ask if you want to create a new one. So allow this weapon to have a new ID completely on its own. So we're going to click yes. So you can see now we've created one that's all separate. And if you open it up, it should have our original stats that we came up with the first time. And if you click OK this time, you'll notice that it doesn't ask you the question if you want to create a new ID. It doesn't, because it's already created one for it. So now we have our own bow. We'll come up here to save. We'll go down to Skyrim, data files. We'll scroll to the bottom here. Oop, went too far. And you can see that the test mod is still active. So we're good. So now we will start Skyrim and see if we can't get our new bow. All right, so here we are in Skyrim. Now, we can already go and look at the bow that we altered with its correct damage, but you can notice that the bow that you made is not in our inventory. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the help command in the console to find the bow and add it to your inventory. So what we'll do is we'll bring up the console, and we already know what the bow is called, the Daedric Bow of Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go help, and I'm going to type in Daedric Bow of Awesome and enter. Now you can see here about the third from the bottom, it says WEP and then it says AA00 12CA Diedrich Bow of Awesome. That's our bow. So what we're going to do is we're going to add it to our inventory with the player add item. And we're going to type in the little 8-digit number there. So AA0012C4 and a space, and then how many you want to add to your inventory. We only need one, so we're only going to add one. So now we're going to go ahead and go into our inventory, and you can see there's our Diedrich Bow of Awesome. It's worth $250,000 or septims and has a damage of 466. I have to say that's a pretty awesome bow. So that's it for this tutorial. We've edited an existing bow. We've added a completely new bow. And that is that for this tutorial. So please like and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I'll try to get back to them. And thank you for your time. Goodbye.
I think you should insert like a wolf eating montage here so everybody can just like review the highlights of you being eaten.
Yes.